Yo, what's going on, family? What it do? Listen, I want to welcome y'all to another episode of Friday Night Live with me, Pastor Frank. I know you could have been anywhere in the world, but I'm always grateful whenever you choose to log in to spend a few minutes with your boy. Listen, do me a favor if you haven't already done so. I need you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Or right down there. Hit that subscribe button. That way you can be notified anytime that I go live, right? Or anytime I post any other content. That way you can stay up to date. You can stay current with whatever's going on, with whatever content that I may post. But as always, and then also you all, do me a favor. Tonight we're kicking off our series about love talk. Do me a favor, go ahead and share this. Hit that little button at the bottom, hit share, copy that link, and text that link to somebody else. Let somebody else know that we live. We are on the air on this Friday night. I don't know about you all. I know I'm always, y'all hear me say it every week, every episode. I'm always grateful anytime God chooses to see us through to the end of yet another week. That he chooses to see us to the end of yet another day, because I know that there's someone who thought they would be here and they're not here. And so, as always, I'm grateful, and I know you're grateful too. Listen, you all, as promised, I'm so excited because tonight kicks off our love series. I titled it Love Talks, right? Because the next four episodes are going to be dedicated to love, where we're talking about all things love. You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, do me a favor. Go ahead and hit that like button, that share button. Let folks know that we're live. Uh, I initially I planned to do this kick it off last week, but I ain't gonna lie. Last week I was really under the weather. I don't know if it's we got the Chicago, this funny acting Chicago weather, but then also I know that my allergies, sinuses was all over the place. So I said, you know what, I don't want to be on the video and hocking and coughing and can barely talk. And so I said, but what I'll do is I'll just make sure I'll push it back a week, and I know that, whatever it is that God wants to say, whatever it is that he wants to do, that's still going to be the same, right? And so, as promised you all, tonight, we'll be kicking off our series called Love Talks. Y'all ready? Well, let's go. Listen, as we begin this Love Talk series over the next four episodes, we'll be examining the essential elements, you all, of what healthy love looks like, right? Specifically, we'll be focusing on how it manifests within our relationship. And I'm not talking about strictly romantic, right? They don't matter whether it's a friendship, whether it's a kinship, or of course, that real romantic relationship, but we're looking at how does our love manifest within all of our relationships. And so tonight, to kick off the series, we start out with the inaugural title, or the theme, which is Love Talks. Are y'all ready? Well, let's jump right in. So here's the thing. There's a question that I want us to reflect on as we are uh, jumping into this conversation on tonight. And that question is, hear me, how well does your love talk? Yeah. How well does your love talk? Or should I say, how well do you communicate the love you have for someone else? And again, that's regardless of the type of relationship that we're referring to. And I ask this question, you all, because while all of us desire to feel love, the reality also is that all of us don't receive love the exact same way. And that's because while there are various things or various ways that cause us to feel loved by someone, another truth, you all, is that we all have something called a primary love language as well. And that primary love language is the language or languages that make us feel the most love, right? And here's the thing about that. when it comes to how well our love talks. Usually, when we're trying to express our feelings, right? Usually, when we're trying to express our love for someone, quite naturally, our first instinct is to communicate using the most comfortable language, which is our own love language. Which is why the question that I want us to think about and reflect on is, how well does your love actually talk? How well do you actually communicate uh, how you feel and how the love you have for someone else? How well do you express that to someone else, right? Because honestly, you all, we could be doing all that we know to do. We could be doing our very best in communicating or trying to communicate our love to someone, and they don't even recognize it. That's why I felt like to start off this whole love series, I felt that it was important that we start out making sure that we first understand how to effectively communicate or express our love in a way that the other people can receive it, especially knowing that some of our expressions of love may very well be rooted in an unhealthy vision of love. Now, so as we jumping right in, I thought it was kind of funny because as I was doing a little homework, praying and reading and researching and different things, I happened to come across an article, you all, on a website. Some of you all might be familiar with Psychology Today. And in this article on Psychology Today, they stated that the problem with the five love languages is that the love languages in and of itself is very vague, right? The article also said that there was no need for the love languages. Watch this, because expressions of love in any form would make anyone feel love. It then went on to say that we don't even need to be trying to figure out how to learn some kind of love languages or whatever, because all of us, all of us, in order to have a great relationship, we already know how to figure out if we love somebody or not, right? The article said that as long as we're honest with ourselves about when we feel loved and when we don't, we should be okay, because it said, because the standard of any successful relationship is that people are equally capable of giving and receiving love and not limited to just five love languages. Now, while I understand where they're coming from, what we're mostly focusing on is the fact that, let's be honest, many of us, there's some folks that we've been dating in the dating field for a minute. Some of us have gotten married and divorced more than once. But whatever the case is, one of the things that a lot of us have come to realize is that the way that we love is completely different than the way someone else loves, right? And it's not to say that someone else is a bad person, but here's the thing: what we come to realize and find out is that the things that we deem to be important, and when it comes to love, the other people just don't value it the same. It doesn't hold the same weight. And again, it's not because they're a bad person necessarily. It could simply be because their love language is simply different. And one or two things happen, as I stated. Either we get upset because they're not speaking in a way, or expressing love in a way that makes us feel love. Now, I'm not going, maybe they mean well, right? But the way that they communicate their love to us may not necessarily be actually communicating that to us. So what does that mean? What that means that for us, if we really love someone, it is our responsibility to make sure that we're communicating, not just I said the same thing in a different way or louder. How about figure out what language, or what that's why the languages are important. What is it that I can do that would accurately or effectively communicate that I love you, right? As an example, I remember, and if my mom happened to watch this, my bad, but this is just something really basic, right? I don't eat red meat or pork, right? And I don't eat coconuts, right? Anything coconut flavored, I don't do it. So my mother, we had a conversation because I had become a little annoyed because my mother loves German chocolate cake, and I know this. And so on more than one occasion, she was asking me and like, hey, you want some of this German chocolate cake? I'm like, Mom, you know I don't eat coconut. I hate coconut, right? Maybe and then maybe a couple of days later pass. She go, hey, I'm just making sure before I get this cake away. Do you want some of this German chocolate cake, Mom? I don't eat German chocolate cake, and lo and behold, she ended up asking me a third time, and I became a little irritated because I'm like, Mom, I don't eat German chocolate cake. Like I've never ate German chocolate cake. I've never ate anything coconut. Hate it with a passion. And I was saying to her, it makes me feel a certain kind of way that you keep asking me, do I eat something that I have never ate? So what am I saying? Now, I know my mother loves me, but I use that as an example because in her mind, she was being considerate. She was calling me to see if I wanted some of this cake before it's gone. I was feeling some type of way because I'm saying, although you think you're being considerate, you're really not. Because you continue to ask me about if I want something that I cannot stand. She was communicating the wrong thing to me. Although I know she loves me, if I did not know my mother, right? If we didn't have the relationship that we had, I could have taken that as she's being, as I could have been offended, right? I could have felt like, are you playing with my emotions? Like, are you intentionally antagonizing me? Are you intentionally like picking at me or something like that? Because I'm not understanding why you keep asking me if I eat something or do I want something that I don't eat at all. And guess what, you all? It's the same way with some of the other people that we say we love. It is very much so possible that when we're giving our best, when we're doing our all, right? I mean, we know that we laying it out. We know that we doing everything that we know to do to let someone know how much we love them. Truth is, it may not be good enough. It may not mean much to them. So if we really love people, it is our responsibility. It's only right, you all, that we figure out how to speak their love language. And I understand where psychology today was coming from because, yes, well, what they were looking at is, are there other ways and that we can speak, are there multiple ways to speak certain languages? Yes. But let's be honest, the issue for a lot of us is we don't have the verbiage. We don't necessarily have the tools to even know or understand how do I go about speaking someone's language? How do I figure out what's important to them? And guess what? Even if somebody asks you, some of us may not even be able to be good enough or know, I'm going to say good enough. Some of us may not be able to actually communicate the things that show us or make us feel the most love. That's what makes the five love languages a really good tool. And we're going to jump into those five love languages real quick in a minute. However, before we do, now let me back up real quick because let me also just throw this out there. One of the other things that I also want to make sure that we're aware of in the midst of figuring out how well does our love talk is we also have to make sure that our version of love or our perception of love is actually rooted in a healthy version or vision of love even in the first place, right? Because again, if our foundation, as we've been talking about rebuilding and all the things we've been talking about all season long, 9 times out of 10, a lot of the stuff that may have been in our foundation, a lot of the things that we had to dig up, it very well may have affected the way that we believe that we're communicating love to someone else. And so to make sure that we're starting out on the same field, on the same even plane, it's only fair that before we jump into these five love languages, that we go back to the beginning. That that we go, how do I want to say this? We go back to the person who created it all, which is God. Because I don't know about y'all. If we're gonna talk about anything dealing with love, we gotta at least know what God says about love first. So here's the thing. The Bible gives a full description of what God says healthy love encompasses in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8. Now, I'm not going to read the verbatim, the scriptures, those scriptures to us, because we're going to dive more into that next episode. But here's the thing, as I try to summarize, 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verses 4 through 8, describes love as being patient and kind. It says that love is not envious of the people that we say we love, right? It says that love is not excessively prideful or selfish. It says that love does not bring shame or disgrace to the people we say we love. It says love does not, watch this, love does not allow us to become easily angered with the people that we say we love. It says that love doesn't even keep a track of how many times the people we say we love have done wrong. It says that love does not find joy when something evil or bad happens to the people we say we love. Rather, it says that it gets excited, right? When we get excited, or we should be getting excited with the truth. We should be getting excited when we hear the truth about someone that we love. It goes on and it says that love always protects. It says, watch this, love always causes us to trust the people we say we love. It says love always finds hope. It always perseveres. In fact, it goes on and says, love never fails. And if I'm being honest, you all, I believe the reason that it never fails, not only just because God says it never fails, but watch this. If our love encompasses all of these elements that I just described, how could love possibly fail? So watch this. This is a question that I'm gonna ask that we may talk about in the next episode. If our love doesn't encompass all of those elements, is it really love? One of my favorite songs by Music Soul Child called Love. Love. So many people use your name in vain. I would have to agree. There's so many people that use the word love but don't really understand what love means. How do I know? Because when I hear them talk about the people that they say they love, their love doesn't encompass all of those elements. So I would say to you, do you really love them? Do they really love you? Because if they did, their love would have all of those elements as described in 1 Corinthians chapter 13. But we're going to jump more into that next week when we be talking about elements of love. So back to the five love languages. Because here's the thing about the love languages. As I stated, they are a great tool. Watch this. It's not the end all be all, but it is a great tool to help us to communicate better with the people we love, right? Because at the end of the day, the goal is to make sure that the people we say we love actually know it. that they actually can feel the love that we believe that we're expressing. So I'm not reading them in any particular order, right? So don't be like, well, why you got this one, that one? They're not in any particular order, but the first love language is called quality time, right? And quality that this particular love languages typically emphasizes spending focused, uninterrupted time, right? Engaging in meaningful conversations or activities. Watch this, where both people are intentionally present, right? That means if you're going out to dinner, right? I'm just give a few examples. That means if you're going out to dinner, y'all not on your phones, even though we all love our phone. How are you paying attention if you're on your phone? It's not possible, right? And I'm just pointing these out because some of us, there is a book called The Five Love Language. Let me just put it out there. If you don't have the book, I would encourage you to get the book because although the book, kind of it mostly emphasizes uh, the love languages as it pertains to significant others or from a romantic standpoint, the principles apply to all relationships, right? As it pertains to how we should interact with anybody that we say we love. What's up, Reg? Right? So quality time. For some people, when someone gives you quality time, that really makes you feel love. It makes you feel like they really love you, right? Quality time, that's the first one. The second love language. The second love language is acts of service, right? For some people, if their primary love language is acts of service, that means for them, watch this. The best way to express love to them is by is putting that love in action by doing something, right? As an example, doing chores, maybe helping do the dishes or doing the dishes just on your own, maybe taking out the trash, right? Doing laundry, running errands, doing certain things for someone, offering assistance, right? For some people, acts of service really mean something. I'm gonna use myself as an example. Back when I was married years ago, long time ago, long time ago. Uh, when I was married, I remember my wife at the time would feel some kind of way because I didn't know that act of service. I didn't know anything about the love languages at the time. I knew I loved her, and I thought and I felt like I was communicating my love towards her the best way I could. It wasn't until after we were divorced, years later after we were divorced, that I became aware of the five love languages. And I can look back and say that I realized that acts of service was one of her love languages, right? And so for her, it would make her feel good if I took her car to get washed, if I took her car to get cleaned out, if I took her car and filled up her gas tank, right? But because I didn't recognize that that was one of her primary love languages, I didn't even consider doing that. And even when if she would mention certain things about it or whatever, I just kind of shrugged it off like, "What you mean? Can I go watch your car?" Now, granted, I'm acknowledging I was young and dumb, no excuse. But the point is, if I was aware that that was her love language, then guess what? I should have been making even more attempts to do acts of service which would make her feel even more loved, right? That's acts of service. Number three, the third love language is words of affirmation. For those whose primary love language is words of affirmation, they need to hear your expressions of love verbally, right? They need verbal compliments. They need words of appreciation. We tell everybody thank you, but sometimes they need, baby, you did, man, that meal you cooked was awesome. I could tell you put your foot in it. Whatever it like. I love the way you did this. I love the way you did that. Right? Nobody does it better than you. Right? And that can go multiple ways, but y'all know what I mean, right? Sometimes words of affirmation could simply be encouragement, right? When you notice they're whoa, thank you, Lord. When they're feeling some type of way, having the person that loves them to come along and say, you know what, I see you might be struggling or whatever the case might be, but you got this, and I got you, right? Words of affirmation, and here's the thing. The thing that what caught my attention as I was reading that was we all need words of affirmation, just like all of these different love languages. All of these may be important to us in some way, shape, form, or fashion. But the thing is, there are certain love languages based on what season we are in life. They are our primary, meaning that is the way that speaks our love language the most. And that's the reason I'm sharing this because watch this. When it comes to when it comes to words of affirmation, what really caught my attention was how do you know when you need to when your significant other, or I ain't even say significant other, the person you love, how do you know when to use words of affirmation, right? That means you really have to be paying attention. That means it has to be more than just you coming in and out, coming and going, just a high and by. That means you have to be paying attention to their countenance. That means you have to be listening intentionally in the conversations to recognize, are they frustrated? Are they sad? Right? Are they fearful? You have to be intentional. Otherwise, guess what? You won't recognize they needed to hear something from you. They needed to hear, you got this. They needed to hear, I love you. They needed to hear, you're beautiful. They needed to hear, you a king, you got this, right? They needed to hear, you're awesome. They needed to hear, I see you working. I see you trying. You got to pay attention. That was words of affirmation. Number four. The fourth love language is gifts, right? It's self-explanatory. For some people, their love language is gifts, meaning that they appreciate gestures. Now, I'm gonna be honest. There are some people who, if gifts is always your primary love language, nowadays, I'm just being honest. We got to be careful with that, right? Because gifts can easily cause someone to be taken advantage of. But typically a person, I'm just being transparent. Typically a person whose primary love language is gifts is not necessarily all about spending big money. Sometimes those gifts could simply be flowers, especially if they have a favorite flower. But even if they don't, it could simply be flowers. Gifts for those whose primary love language is gifts, it very well might be receiving a card from someone that they love with something that's very sentimental and valuable, right? Like it is communicating something. What's going on, Tano? But it could be communicating something to them that's valuable. I can tell you, my mother is one of those people who gifts is her love language. And what I mean by that is for her, buying her a Dooney and Burke or some person don't really do anything for her. But if you get her a meaningful card, that means the world to her. As a matter of fact, my mother is one of those people who, when you give her whether it's Mother's Day or her birthday card or whatever it is, she holds on to those cards. And every year, when whatever that holiday or season time comes around, she brings those cards out. Why? Because she reflects on the words that were in that card that touched her. Gifts, right? The last love language, the fifth love language, is physical touch. Now, we ain't talking about sex. We're just literally talking about physical touch. This love language emphasizes the importance of physical touch or connection or contact, right? Such as, like, for some people, now granted, most of us like hugs. I come to find out there's some people they really just don't like hugs, right? But there are some people that some sort of touch, contact, that's their primary love language. I'm one of those people. Now, mind you, because that's my primary love language, I'm not going to touch any and everybody. But for the people who say that they love me, it means a lot if somebody just kind of put their hand on my shoulder, right? If somebody just now from a romantic standpoint, now I'm not going to talk about another, holding my hand, right? Just gently, brush up against me. That's my primary love language. And why do I say all of this? As I stated earlier, the benefit or the beauty of these five love languages is it helps us, number one, to identify or recognize what ways of these love languages speak to me the most, and then it gives us the verbiage to communicate that to the people that we love, right? It's all about communication. It's all about making sure that our love talks properly and effectively. It's making sure that when we're trying to communicate and express our love to someone else, that we're expressing in a way that they can receive it. Now, from what I understand, even based on what I read about the five love languages, and y'all heard me say it a little while ago, everybody's love language can shift. What may be your primary love language right now, depending on if you're in a different season of life, it may be a different love language may become more of a priority. Maybe depending on what you're working towards and the things you got going on in life, it maybe physical touch might have been your primary, but based on where you are in life, maybe acts of service might become your primary, right? They can shift, they can move around, but it's up to us to make sure, you all, that when we're communicating our love to others, that we're communicating in a way that that they can receive it. Because at the end of the day, you all, what's more important than making sure that the people that we say we love actually know it? So as we get ready to go into this weekend, I want to encourage each and every one of you all to take some time and reflect on how well does your love talk. And watch this. That means you got to talk to some people, in particular the people that you love. Because as I stated, it could be possible that your expression of love, I mean, they may kind of know it, but they really may not know to what degree you really love them if you're not speaking their language. So ask them, right? Maybe even just start with asking, do they know their love language? And if so, find out what it is. Even ask them, how would you rank in what order would you rank your love languages? That way, watch this, because the goal is for us to better communicate our love to them. And I guarantee you all that the better our love begins to talk, the more enhanced our relationships would become, especially as we continue this journey to dreaming unfiltered and experiencing brighter and better days more consistently. Especially knowing that when we're all capable of giving and receiving love properly, then we all get to feel love. Well, listen, that's all I got for y'all on tonight. As always, I appreciate you all for tuning in, and I look forward to continuing this conversation on next Friday Night Live as we jump into the conversation of elements of love. We're gonna jump a little bit deeper into First Corinthians chapter 13 as we start talking about these elements of love. Because remember, it's really been heavy on my heart, you all. There's a lot of people that say that they love folks and profess their love, but if it don't have all of these elements that God says are a part of love, it might not be love. It very well could be lust. It could just be a strong like. Either way, we're gonna talk about it next week. But I need y'all to remember before we get up out of here, as always, dreams plant the seeds for the future. and your future is definitely bright. Until next week, peace out. Love y'all.